I was 16 when I realized fear doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people who know your address. My mom had been dating Eric for almost 10 years. He wasn't violent in the obvious way. He didn't scream every day. He didn't break things constantly. He just controlled everything. Who she talked to, where she went, when I could visit. I stopped living with her when I was 14 because being around him felt like walking on glass barefoot. Last April, I went to a leadership conference in Nevada. It was supposed to be 3 days of workshops, networking, and competitions. My first time traveling without family. I was excited. The first night at the hotel, I was alone in the hallway looking for the ice machine when a guy about my age stepped out from around the corner. He didn't smile, didn't introduce himself. He just said, "Hey, can you show me where room 417 is?" I blinked. What? 417. I can't find it. He had no luggage, no badge, no phone in his hand, just empty hands stuffed into his hoodie pocket. "It should be upstairs," I said. "The signs show the directions." He didn't move. "Can you just walk me?" His tone shifted. Not asking, pressuring. My stomach tightened. "I don't feel comfortable walking anywhere alone," I said. He stared at me for 3 full seconds. No blinking. Then he exhaled sharply like I'd insulted him and walked away. I tried to shake it off. But 15 minutes later, I saw him again. This time he was in a weird section of the hotel, near the emergency exit stairs. An area no conference guests were using, and he wasn't alone. 4 older guys stood around him. Not high schoolers, early 20s at least. They weren't talking, they were looking at me, all of them. My heart started pounding. I turned and walked, fast back toward the lobby. The next day I kept noticing the same group. At breakfast, across the ballroom, in the hallway near my room, always staring, never smiling, never interacting, just watching. I told my advisor it felt weird, but she said conferences bring random guests, and maybe I was overthinking it. I tried to believe that until the awards ceremony. It was the second to last night. Hundreds of people in the ballroom, plenty of empty chairs. 2 men walked in wearing black hoodies and medical masks. They didn't look like high school students. They looked older, late 20s maybe. They scanned the room, then walked directly toward me and sat down on both sides of me. Not a single word. Not even pretending to watch the stage. Just sitting there. Close. Too close. I felt trapped between them. One leaned back in his chair slowly, turning his head toward me. I could feel his eyes on my face. My hands started shaking. I texted my advisor under the table. 2 guys sitting next to me. I'm uncomfortable. She looked over from across the room and frowned. Within 2 minutes, hotel security approached them. The men didn't argue. They didn't protest. They just stood up and left quietly. That's what scared me most. It felt rehearsed, like they knew exactly how far to push. After that, I felt watched the entire trip, in elevators, in hallways, even outside the hotel when we were loading the bus. When I got home, I told my mom about it. She looked pale, but didn't say much. A week ago, almost a year later, she called me randomly. Her voice sounded shaky. "Eric said something weird last night," she said. "What?" "He said he taught you a lesson at that conference." My chest tightened. "What does that mean?" She hesitated. "He said he knew people in Nevada. He said he paid them to mess with you, to scare you." I couldn't breathe. "What?" "He said they were supposed to show you how unsafe the world is. He told me one of them even held a gun to your head at some point, but didn't actually hurt you." I dropped my phone. No one had held a gun to my head, but what if something had been planned? What if it had gone wrong, or worse? What if he was lying to control my mom, or trying to scare me through her? Now I replay every second of that trip. Was it random? Was it organized? Was I targeted? Or is he just manipulating all of us? The scariest part isn't the masked men. It's not the hallway. It's realizing someone who's been around for 10 years might have orchestrated it, and I still don't know what's real. I didn't start noticing it until I moved out. That's when things escalated. My mom's boyfriend Daniel had always been protective. That's what she called it. He needed to know where everyone was at all times. He installed cameras outside the house, then inside my mom's bedroom. He said it was for safety. I moved to my aunt's house when I was 15. A year later, I got accepted into a summer internship in another state. The first week there, small things started happening. My Uber driver asked if I still lived on Maple Drive. That was my old address. I never mentioned it. A girl at the program told me someone had asked about me at the front desk earlier. A man, mid-40s. I felt cold. When I called my mom, she sounded nervous. "Daniel's been asking about your schedule," she said. "He said he's just worried." 2 nights later, I got a text from an unknown number, a photo. It was me. From earlier that day, walking into the internship building. The angle was far away, zoomed in. The caption read, "You look stressed." My blood turned to ice. I reported it. Changed. Numbers. Blocked everything. But then it happened again. Another photo. Different day, different angle. This time I was at a coffee shop. I told my mom. She broke down crying. "He told me he hired someone to keep an eye on you," she whispered. "He said you're naive, that you'd get kidnapped if he didn't intervene." I felt sick. I went to the police. They said without proof linking him, it would be hard to act. Then one night I caught something. In the reflection of the cafe, window across the street, a man was sitting in a parked car, watching me. When I stepped outside suddenly, he drove off immediately. I memorized the license plate, reported it. Turns out the car was registered to someone connected to Daniel's business. He denied everything, said my mom misunderstood, said I was paranoid. But the messages stopped after. The police contacted him, and that silence confirmed everything. He wasn't protecting me, he was monitoring me, and the scariest part? He truly believed he was justified. After the police contacted Daniel, everything went quiet. Too quiet. No more photos. No more unknown numbers. No more cars parked across the street. For a few weeks, I almost convinced myself it was over. Almost. But silence can feel louder than threats, because when someone like him goes silent, it doesn't mean they've stopped. It means they're planning. My mom started acting different, shorter responses, delayed replies, random check-ins asking very specific questions. "What time do you leave the building now? Do you still take that side entrance? Do you sit near the windows?" At first I thought she was just anxious. Then one night she slipped. "Daniel says." She stopped mid-sentence. I froze. "What did Daniel say?" She hesitated. "He says routines make you predictable." My stomach dropped. That wasn't concern. That was analysis. It happened on a Thursday. I came back from the internship around 6:30 p.m. My apartment door was locked. Deadbolt still engaged, but something felt off. You ever walk into a room and feel like the air shifted? The kitchen light was on. I always turn it off. Maybe I forgot. I told myself that. But then I saw my laptop, closed. I always leave it slightly open because the hinge is loose. I checked my drawers. Nothing stolen. No mess. Just slightly different, like someone had touched things and carefully put them back. I stood in the middle of my apartment trying to convince myself I was spiraling until I checked my Wi-Fi settings. A new device had connected at 4:12 p.m. Unknown device. Disconnected. Now my heart started racing. I called my landlord. He said maintenance hadn't entered. I reset the router, changed passwords, enabled two-factor authentication on everything. Then I did something that, to this day, I don't know if I regret or not. I bought a hidden camera detector. It arrived 2 days later. That night, I turned off all the lights and scanned my apartment slowly. Bedroom, bathroom, living room. Nothing. I felt stupid, paranoid. Then I scanned the smoke detector. A tiny reflection blinked back. My hands started shaking. I climbed on a chair, unscrewed it. There was something inside that wasn't supposed to be there, not a standard component. A small black module taped inside. I dropped it. I didn't know if it was a camera, but it didn't belong there. I called the police. They took it for testing. Asked if anyone had access to my apartment. I gave them Daniel's name, explained everything, the photos, the car, the messages. They took notes. Professional, neutral, but I could tell they needed proof. 3 days later they called. The device wasn't transmitting anymore. Battery dead. But it had storage capability, internal memory. They couldn't confirm. Who placed it? No fingerprints. Wiped clean. But it was real. Not paranoia. Not imagination. Someone had installed something inside my smoke detector, and that meant someone had been inside. My landlord changed my locks immediately, while the locksmith worked, he asked casually. You didn't give a spare to anyone, right? I shook my head, then remembered something. 2 months earlier, my mom had visited. Daniel drove her. He waited in the car, or at least, that's what she said. My brain started connecting things I didn't want to connect. What if he didn't wait? What if he followed her up just to see the place? What if he pocketed something or copied a key? I called my mom that night. She sounded exhausted. When I told her about the device, she went silent. Then she whispered, "He asked me if you ever changed the batteries in your smoke detectors." I felt cold all over. After the device was found, things escalated in a way that felt deliberate. My internship supervisor called me into her office. "There's been a man asking about you again," she said carefully. "What did he look like?" Mid-40s. Clean cut. Didn't give his name. Said he was family. My chest tightened. Did he say anything else? She hesitated. He asked if the building had security cameras. That wasn't protective. That was strategic. A week later, a package arrived at my apartment, no return address. Inside was a small digital clock. Cheap generic. No note. I almost threw it away, but something stopped me. Turned it over, unscrewed the battery panel. There it was. Another tiny black module. Camera lens embedded in the plastic. This one newer, more advanced. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt something worse. Clarity. He wasn't reacting emotionally. He was adapting, learning, upgrading. This time, I didn't wait for police. I called him. He answered on the second ring. Calm, almost amused. "You need to stop," I said. Silence. "I don't know what you think you're proving." A soft chuckle. "You think I'd be that sloppy?" My heart pounded. "So it's not you?" "I think you like attention," he said. "All this drama, cameras, stalkers, makes you feel important. Gaslighting, classic. Calculated. You were sick," I whispered. He lowered his voice. "If I wanted to hurt you, you wouldn't see it coming." Then he hung up. My mom showed up unannounced 2 days later, alone, crying. She told me he'd been tracking her phone too, monitoring her messages, checking her mileage. "He says it's love," she said. But this wasn't love, it was ownership, and I was the one thing he couldn't fully control, which made me a threat. Police traced the car from earlier incidents more deeply this time. It wasn't directly linked to him, but the owner had received payments from one of Daniel's side businesses, consulting, fees, cash transfers, patterned, regular, enough to suggest employment. When confronted, Daniel claimed it was coincidence, business overlap, nothing illegal. But the pressure was building, and he was losing control, which made him dangerous. It happened at 9:17 p.m. on a Sunday. Power went out in my apartment, whole building dark, except, not fully. Across the street, inside a parked car, I saw a faint blue glow, like a laptop screen, facing my building, watching. I called 911, stayed on the line. The car drove off before police arrived, but this time there were traffic cameras, and this time they pulled the footage fast enough. The driver wasn't Daniel, but it was the same man linked to his payments, and that was enough for a restraining order. Daniel denied everything, said he was being framed, said I was unstable, said my mom was poisoning me against him. But the court didn't ignore patterns, the devices, the payments, the visits, the repeated inquiries, the silence afterward. He was ordered to cease contact. No indirect communication, no surveillance, no third-party monitoring. For the first time in years, I slept without checking windows. But here's the thing about people like him. They don't stop because they're sorry. They stop because they're forced to. And sometimes, they wait. 3 months after the restraining order, I moved. New city, new apartment, new internship. Didn't give the address to anyone except my aunt, not even my mom. One night, while setting up Wi-Fi, I opened the router settings. There were no unknown devices, no suspicious connections, nothing strange. But the network name auto-generated by the router was protected always. I never set that. I changed it immediately, probably a default, probably random. But I still think about it. Because Daniel used to say one thing constantly: I protect what's mine, always. When my mom told me the truth, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it sounded impossible. She said her boyfriend confessed during a fight. He told her he'd tested my survival instincts. 2 years ago, I was walking home from work. When a van slowed down beside me, a man leaned out and asked for directions. Before I could answer, another door slid open slightly. I ran. I didn't stop running until I reached a gas station. I told my mom. She was furious. At the world. Not at him, but now she says he admitted it. He said he hired people to approach me, to see if I'd freeze or fight. He said if you froze, he'd know you weren't ready for the real world. My mom whispered. My hands went numb. All those nights I thought I escaped something random. It might have been staged, or maybe he's lying to sound powerful. That's the worst part, not knowing. What's worse, that he did it, or that he wants us to believe he could. I confronted him once. He smiled. You survived, didn't you? He said. That smile still haunts me. After I confronted him, something changed. Not outside, inside. Because when someone smiles after you accuse them of staging your near kidnapping, you stop feeling safe in ways you didn't know were possible. I started replaying every random incident from the last 3 years. The van that slowed down beside me, the man who followed me through the grocery store, the car that parked outside my friend's house when I was sleeping over. At the time, they felt disconnected. Now they felt organized, structured, test runs. I asked my mom to tell me exactly what he said during that fight. She hesitated. Then she admitted something worse. He said he wanted to see if you were strong, she whispered. Strong for what? I asked. She didn't answer. But I think we both knew, strong enough to survive him. A week later, he escalated his story. This time he told her details. He claimed he paid 2 guys from an old job connection to approach me that night in the van. He told them not to actually grab me, just scare me, just see how I reacted. He described it like a science experiment. I needed data, he told her. Data about me, my instincts, my fear response, my breaking point. Who thinks like that about a 16-year-old girl? What he didn't know was that I wasn't frozen that night. I wasn't helpless. I had called someone, my older cousin Marcus. He lived 15 minutes away. When the van slowed down and the door slid open, I ran. Yes. But I also memorized the full first 3 digits of the plate, I told Marcus. He drove around the neighborhood looking for it. He didn't find it, but he told me something I never mentioned to my mom. There was another car behind the van, he said. Like what? Like it was following it. At the time, we assumed coincidence. Now it didn't feel like one. I asked my mom something simple. Did he have extra money around that time? She went quiet, then admitted he withdrew a large amount of cash 2 days before that incident. Said it was for business. The same excuse he used when he paid the guy to monitor me during my internship. Patterns. Always patterns. There was another memory, one I buried because it felt too ridiculous to be real. A year after the van incident, I was walking home from school. Man stepped out from behind a bus stop shelter. He didn't touch me, didn't block me. He just said, "You're getting faster." I froze. What? You ran quicker last time. Then he smiled and walked away. I convinced myself he was mentally unstable, a random creep. But now it felt like feedback, like someone reporting results. Did he ever say anything about multiple times? I asked my mom. She looked sick. He said he ran several simulations. She whispered. Simulations, like I was in some twisted training program. This time I recorded it. I went to their house while my mom was at work. He opened the door, smiled like nothing was wrong. I have one question, I said. He leaned against the doorway, relaxed. If you didn't set those things up, why do you know so many details? His jaw tightened for a split second, then relaxed. I have good instincts, he said. That's not an answer. He stepped closer, lowered his voice. You live in a dangerous world. I showed you that. You survived. You should thank me. My heart was pounding. You traumatized me. He tilted his head. Trauma builds resilience. I felt sick. You don't get to decide that. His smile faded slightly. You think anyone else would prepare you? Prepare me for what? It didn't make sense at first. Why stage danger instead of just being abusive directly? Then it hit me. Control through dependency. If the world feels terrifying, if random men in vans feel like constant threats, who feels safe by comparison? Him. The protector. The only one who understands how dangerous things are. He wasn't just testing me, he was manufacturing fear so I'd eventually run toward him for safety. Except I didn't, and that made me unpredictable, which made me a problem. When I explained this to her, something in her face cracked. She started connecting her own memories. The time someone tried to break into her car shortly after they started dating. The anonymous, threatening emails she got years ago. The way he always appeared calm during chaos. Like he knew it was coming. Her voice shook. When she said, "What if he did it to me too?" Silence filled the room, because that wasn't impossible. That was likely. 2 months later, something surfaced. Marcus found an old dash cam clip he forgot about. From the night he drove around looking for the van, the footage showed something small. The Izidri van turning a corner, and behind it, a black sedan. Following. When Marcus zoomed in, the plate wasn't clear, but the car model was. A black 2012 Honda Accord. Daniel used to drive one. He sold it a year later. I asked my mom what he drove during that time. She went pale. A black Honda Accord. We never confronted him with the footage. We didn't need to. He sensed the shift. He started acting different. Less smug, more defensive. He accused my mom of turning against him, of poisoning the family. Then one night, during an argument, he snapped. "Did what I had to do," he shouted. My mom froze. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer directly, but he didn't deny it either. Instead, he said something worse. "You're both alive, aren't you?" That wasn't innocence. That was justification. He never showed anger when we accused him. He showed pride. Like he believed he engineered something successful. Like fear was a gift he gave us. And that's what keeps me up at night. Not the van, not the men, not the staged threats, but the fact that someone can convince themselves they're the hero while creating the danger. 3 weeks after that argument, I was walking to my car after work. A man stood near it. I froze, but this time he didn't approach. He just looked at me, then said, "No more tests." My blood ran cold. "What?" He shook his head. "Tell him I'm done." Then he walked away. I didn't chase him. I didn't scream. I just stood there shaking. When I told my mom, she confronted Daniel immediately. He claimed it was nonsense, but his hands were shaking. A month later, he moved out. Suddenly, no warning. Left during the day while my mom was at work. No forwarding address. No goodbye. Just gone. But here's the part that still unsettles me. The day after he left, my mom received a single text from an unknown number. It said, "You passed." No follow-up, no context, nothing. Police couldn't trace it. Maybe coincidence, maybe a sick joke, maybe unrelated, but I don't believe in coincidence anymore. I don't know how many events were staged. I don't know how many were real. I don't know if he ever intended for something to go wrong, but I know this. The most dangerous people aren't the ones who want you dead. They're the ones who want you afraid, because fear is easier to control than love. And sometimes, when I walk alone, at night, I still wonder if somewhere out there, he's running another simulation.